For this decorative technique video, I'm going to display slip trailing. Here's just an example of black slip used. I do have many different colors, and I'm building on that. So I have black, yellow ochre, blue, and kind of an iron oxide, which turns kind of brown. Notice they do look different between the bisque and the final firing, so they turn out kind of gray. So slip trailing bottles, whisks, brushes, and the different colors with their labels are on the shelf for you to use. Make sure that you open and close containers well and wash up when you are done. These are two slip trailing bottles. One's ketchup and one's kind of those little booger suckers. I'm going to show you the ketchup bottle first, so just make sure you shake it up really good so it's all mixed up. I would test it on the table first, so you're not doing it on your project. For example day, it's not so bad, but on your project you don't want to ruin it. So if it is clogged, just take a needle tool, shake it so it's down at the bottom, and test it out a little bit, just to make sure it's got some fluidity to it. Shouldn't be runny though. Alright, so I can just draw with it. If you've ever done henna before, this is pretty easy. Okay, you can do dots. Okay, so it's just the clay body. Now I'm going to do a black slip, so that way it has a little bit of color contrast to the clay body, which is a little bit lighter. So I'm going to use one of these bulb syringes, and I'm just going to mix up my black slip first, because sometimes it will settle and just leave water on top. So I'm just going to take a whisk from the shelf, and I'm just going to mix it up. Should be like a thick cream consistency. It shouldn't be really dry, but it shouldn't be really runny. I'm just going to squeeze my bulb syringe so it sucks up all the fluid when I put the tip into the liquid. Now it gets a little messy, so I'm just going to take a paper towel, just kind of wash that off, just kind of keep things a little bit neater. Right, so then there is just this little tip. And, I mean, these are really easy. I mean, you find these in the baby aisle, and that's just what you'd use to pump up, say, a basketball, and then just clip off the little hole tip. Okay, make sure to put the cover back on. Make sure it's nice and snug. Don't put it back on, it will dry out and it won't work so well, so be respectful of that. Okay, so again, I'm going to test this out on the table to make sure it works. I kind of shake it down. You can put a needle tool in here. This is a little bit finer tip than the ketchup bottle. Yeah, it's kind of clogged, so I just unclogged it, and now it's got nice fluid decoration options. You can hold this, you can draw with it. Leaf designs are pretty popular. So if you've ever done henna before, it's really very, very similar. It's just a little bit odd shape. Or if you've ever done cake decorating. That's cool. Once you've used the colored slip, all you really gotta do is do a clear glaze over the top of it. You don't have to worry about what colors to do. You can just be very playful. Okay, one thing you can also do with a water-soluble marker to give yourself a stencil, as long as you're putting it on fairly plastic clay, you can transfer your drawings or whatever image you want to trace onto the clay. If it's leather hard, it doesn't work as well. Like, it does kind of work, but not as good. So I do recommend doing this with plastic. But slip trailing normally you can do on leather hard or on plastic. It really doesn't matter, which is pretty great. It adheres pretty well. This is the same clay that we used, so it's all the same. Alright, so how do we actually clean these? So first of all, you need to open up your slip color bucket again and just squeeze out all the slip. Slip does take quite a bit of time to use. If you end up not liking the slip on your piece, you can scrape it off too, but you have to make sure it goes in the garbage. It can't go in the scrap bucket. So squeeze it out, make sure you put the cover back on, make sure it's nice and snug. Okay, I'm going to take my bulb and the tip over to the sink. Be very careful you do not lose the tip. Okay, I'm going to have a bucket of water ready for me, and I'm just going to squeeze the bulb syringe in and out, in and out, in and out. So that way I'm using that water to clean it. I'm also going to suck up some water, kind of shake it, because the slip does tend to settle in the different crevices. My goal is for this to spit out clear water. Now occasionally we'll have to empty the bucket, so again, really make sure you know where your tip is to this bulb syringe.